The baseball world, it's a sad day here today. MLB and Dodgers broadcasting legend Vin Scully has passed away at the age of 94. Now, the Dodgers confirmed the sad news on Tuesday night, releasing a statement to honor the man who has been the voice in Los Angeles for decades. Dodgers president and CEO Stan Kasten said Scully was one of the greatest voices in all of sports. He was a giant of a man, not only as a broadcaster, but as a humanitarian. He loved people, he loved life, he loved baseball and the Dodgers, and he loved his family. His voice will always be heard and etched in all of our minds forever. I mean, if you're you don't even have to be a Dodgers fan, just a baseball fan in general, just to know what Scully meant to, the game. And he called some of the biggest games in history, some of the most special moments. And so it was really hard to hear that news yesterday. Yeah, it's sad, but I don't want to take away from the legacy and the life of Vin Scully, because I think what he brought to the game of baseball, his voice, when you heard it's time for Dodgers baseball, it didn't matter if you were a fan of the Red Sox or the Yankees or whoever, you were really excited to hear a baseball game that day. And connected a generation or generations in a lot of different ways. To have somebody who connects the Dodgers from their time in Brooklyn to right now. Obviously, he did his last game in 2016, but this is a guy that knew Jackie Robinson. This is a guy that called games in the World Series. He called 25 World Series. That's amazing. And it wasn't just in baseball, but if you look at broadcasters and the people they look up to, he was the bar. Right. He was the standard for so many different people across so many different sports, an icon in a lot of different ways. And from anybody he met, people love Vin Scully. Yeah, and go ahead.
Let's say you talk about the scope of sports as well. Dabbled in the football world, called some golf. This is a guy who obviously had an amazing storied career. And you talk about the broadcasters that look up to him. I know a lot of people who do play-by-play that literally idolize what he did. But the other thing you talk about is the longevity in the career. And that's what stands out to me. 67 years with the Dodgers. It is a ridiculous number. And like you said, it bridges generations. People old and young talk about the calls that he had. So certainly a sad day for baseball fans, very sad day for the sports world. But I'm with Russ. I think this is a time to celebrate the accomplishments and the achievements and the impact on the game as well. Well, according to the Dodgers, he was the longest serving broadcaster to remain with a single team in history of professional sports. But, with that, when we thought of the Dodgers, we thought of Vin Scully, right? And just that voice, his calls, it made you feel like you were friends with him, watching the Dodgers every single day. But, not just him, but a lot of broadcasters that have spent their whole careers with the team. Why do you feel like people can connect with them and just kind of feel like they're part of their family? I think with Vin Scully specifically, he's a part of the fabric of the game. He's so historic, and, going back from Brooklyn to LA and calling, Jackie Robinson, Steve Garvey, and all these legendary names in the history of the Dodgers, and Kirk Gibson, the home run he hit in the World Series in L.A., now, Andre Ethier, these giants in Dodgers history. But in terms of him nationally, his voice was so calm, so soothing. And when you sat down to watch him or hear him, it was like, all right, this is going to be a good day. And I think with baseball specifically, more than other sports, you could put on a game in the background and hear the soothing voice of Vin Scully, and it was a calming influence. But when you think of the Giants in broadcasting, I think Howard Cosell is a guy that I think for a lot of the people in our parents' generation, they're like, that was the guy. I think we look at Vin Scully in that same way right now. Yeah, and this profession, it's an art and a science. You got to know the mechanics of it, but obviously you got to know how to do it your own way. And I think that is what he did best. It takes really good instinct to call games. You got to know when to be excited. You got to know when to lay out and just let the moment marinate. And I think he did everything perfectly.